So we'll get going. All right. So we're just gonna together as a group, real quick, take a look at curve part number 4. All right, and I'm also gonna show you real quick how to throw it on a drawing sheet. The one thing that I was mentioning was like strategically, just from like a building perspective. There's a lot of different ways you can build the part. We want to do it as efficiently as possible in like the least number of steps, just to keep it simple for ourselves. All right. So if I were to look at the drawing sheet, there are some hints here as far as like what profile or what side of the part I might start building from. So we're going to look at just like that front view. And what I'm going to try to do is just sketch up what this part would look like from the front view. We can include that hole, and then we can extrude the part back like the thickness, total thickness of the part. Once that's there, we can come back and we can worry about, the shape of these flanges. We can worry about trying to get a curve on there. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and we'll be looking at curve part 4, but we're mainly going to be drawing this from the front view. So I'm just going to create a brand new part. Since I'm in Appstream, that might take just a little bit of time, but not too much. And in the meantime, maybe we'll just kind of look at some of the dimensions here. So the total part height is going to be 4 inches. The width from, they're saying like the center of this arc to the center of the arc on the backside is going to be 6 inches. And then the radius of the arc is going to be 2 inches. So really it's going to be 6 inches plus 2 on one side plus 2 on the other. So the total width of the entire part all the way to the outside edges is going to be 6 plus 2 plus 2. So we got like a 10-inch wide part. So it's going to end up being like 10 wide, 2 tall. All right. Now, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger on my screen. Okay. So we're going to start drawing the part. We're going to draw it like from what would be like that front view. Okay. So if I look at kind of like where these planes are oriented, I got my front view here. This XY plane corresponds with like the front. So we'll just go ahead and define the XY plane as the start of, or the sketch plane that we're going to use to start the part file. And then basically, like I have to essentially just kind of like start drawing out what that front view is going to be. So what we had just said was the entire width or the entire length of the part is going to be 10 inches. So I'm just going to draw one line horizontally there. That's going to be 10 inches long. And then, let's see, we're going to go up like the thickness of like one of these flanges. So we'll go up just 1 inch. And then we're going to come back over. We have to go, it's going to be 2 inches just to the hole center. We have to do like a little bit of math here. From like the center of the part to the outside edge on this one side, that's 2 inches. There's a radius of 2. The whole thing's 10. So it ends up being, there's about an inch gap in here up until like we have to go straight up on this one side. So let's just say we go 3 inches over. I think I'm doing the math right. If I'm not, I'm going to see it really fast. All right, when I'm all said and done with everything. And then the total height of the part is 4 inches, right? So we're already elevated up off of that horizontal axis 1 inch, so it's really just going to be 3 to get all the way to the top. All right, now it should be pretty easy to finish up. So we got 4 inches across the top. I'm just referencing like that 4-inch dimension. And then we're going to do the same exact thing, but just back down the other way. So I'm just going to go back out and kind of clean this all up. But you got like that upside down T shape. All right. And before we extrude it, it probably makes like a little bit of sense to put the arc in here and kind of cut out this little cup shaped piece. All right, so if I were to look at like the dimension on that, it's going to be a radius of 1.5 inches. All right, so if I were to just, like, let's say just draw a circle from the center of that line that already exists and build a circle out, all right, an entire circle gets measured via diameter. Any arc gets drawn out by radius. Right, so we got to just kind of recognize the difference between the two. So if I put in the dimension of 3 inches, that's the same exact thing as like a radius of 1.5, right? So diameter of 3 is the same as a radius of 1.5. And you can kind of see just by looking at it that we got the scale and proportions correct. And then all I'm going to do just to clean this up a little bit, I'm going to use my trim tool. So my trim tool is really handy for cutting off the nearest intersecting curve or selected boundary geometry. So we'll just kind of cut this geometry off the top of the circle, and we can cut out like that inside line right in here for where that curve is going to be. The only thing that I'm kind of missing is that little circle for the hole that gets drilled through the whole part. So it says 0.5 inches. It's going to just be like a little 0.5 inch diameter circle. It's going to be in the center of the part, and it's going to be 1.5 inches up off the ground. So if I were to just construct like a little line here, I'm looking for the center. So I just move my cursor back and forth. I can eventually see like a little green snap point. That's going to be the midpoint of that line. I'm just going to bounce up. We said 1.5 inches to where the center is going to be. So I just drew like a little line just for the construction of the hole there. And now I'm going to go back. I'm going to put a hole from the center. We'll put that hole on. We'll make the diameter of it. It was 0.5, not 5. 0.5. Right there, and now I can get rid of that construction geometry. So I only put that line there just to like kind of map out where that piece was going to be. Now I got a couple pieces that turned purple. We can just throw some dimensions on there just to make sure, you know, things are like locked in place if that's bothering you. All right, so just kind of like clamp things in place geometrically just so we know exactly where everything's going to go. And then let's see, it's probably this whole center. Yeah. All right, so that takes care of that. That should be 4 inches up off the ground. Yeah, that's good. So now everything's like firmly dimensioned. It's constrained in place. Dimensions are all accurate as to what's shown there from the front. And if I were to take a look at this part here, like in 3D, you can kind of see the front of that part. And that's pretty much the same thing that we saw down here, right? So it's just kind of like this exact shape, just like upside down T form with like a little cup out of it and a hole. All right, I'm gonna hit the finish sketch button. I'm gonna go up to my extrude tool. We'll extrude that geometry that we just sketched up. And let's see how thick the entire thing is. I gotta go back and check. The entire part is, it's gonna be 4 inches thick. So there's no dimension on there that says it, but there's a radius of 2 on the outside of this curve. All right, and for that curve, for that outside curve to have a radius of 2, it would mean that it has to have a diameter of 4, right? So it ultimately kind of indicates that the thickness of the part is going to be 4 inches. So we can go ahead and we can type in 4. I did flip the direction of that extrusion just because we were drawing from the front, and I do want to push it back. All right, so I'll go ahead and hit OK on that. And now, if you couldn't see really what was going on before, you can see it pretty well now. All right. Now listen, you could do another sketch on top of like this surface here and cut out those 2 pieces that that need to get cut for like the little flanges. That's a really, easy way to do things. You could do it that way. However, there are some tools in Revit that make it really easy for you to put like a curve on the outside of a form like this. Okay? So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to use my fillet tool. So my fillet tool is going to add a fillet or a round to an edge. All right? And since we know how big these rounds are going to be on the outside, what we're going to do is we're going to use that value at 2 to create this. So if I click on my fillet tool and I type in a radius value of 2 inches, and then I select this corner edge here, and I select this corner edge over here, you got that little tab that's going to be on the outside. So that makes your life really easy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spin this around real quick, and I'll do the same thing over here, and I'll do the same thing over here. So basically we just added a 2-inch radius to these edges. We filleted it. It's basically like hitting the belt sander and just kind of sanding off that outside piece. All right, and I'm going to hit apply, and we're going to close the fillet tool. And if you look at that in 3D, it looks accurate here from the front, and it looks accurate from the top, and the same thing is true over here on the right side. All right, so we should be pretty good. Next thing, I got to get it on a drawing sheet. So I'm just going to go up to File. I'm going to hit Save. I'm going to call it curved part number 4. I want to keep it in my Google Drive. So obviously, like, we're in there. I probably shouldn't have done that because now it's going to sit here and stall out on me. But we'll wait for it just to be patient. And the only reason I did that, I just wanted to make sure you guys are following the same exact procedure. So if you're at home and you're doing the same thing, I don't want to mislead you into thinking it's another process or something like that. I know you guys only have like 2 minutes left in class, so if you really want to bounce out, you can. And I'm just going to post the video on how to get it on a drawing sheet. It's totally fine with me. All right, maybe even if you head back into the main room, you can tell other people that they can bounce out too. All right, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to save this curved part 4. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make a drawing sheet, and we'll get that on there really quick. It'll only take a minute. So it's going to take longer to open the file probably. So I'm just going to go File, New. I'm going to go down to Drawing. They have this option to use template. I'm going to try that out really quick. Let's see if we can find a B-size sheet. No, whatever. That's fine. We'll go with that. So then we're just going to put on really 4 different views. So I'm going to pop on my base view. The base view is usually the front view by default. And since we drew the part accurately, like, there shouldn't really be too much of an issue. It looks pretty good. The only thing, like, on this size drawing sheet, it looks a little bit small. So I might want to just kind of change the scale and bump it up. No, it might be too big. We'll just leave it alone. So I'm going to hit OK. So that's my front view. I can reposition the front view. I can put that like locked in down here in the bottom left-hand sheet of the position on the sheet of paper. Then we're going to use this projected views tool. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to place my top view. I'm going to place my right side. I'm going to place my isometric view. I'm going to right click, not left click, right click, and I'm going to hit create. When I do that, I got my whole sheet set up. The only thing I might end up doing, if I'm like really picky, I might right click on that 3D view and go over to edit view and just change that over to like a shaded part just to kind of see it in 3D. And that's it. That's what you need to make. All right, so that's your drawing sheet. The process or the procedure for doing drawing sheets is exactly the same. All right. You guys all good on that? I'm going to stop the video right now.